What's the biggest challenge presented with this rev share stuff? Or what's the hardest part?
The gap's going to increase between the haves and the have-nots. I don't want to. I get myself in trouble being too honest sometimes, so I won't use names. There's a school that is in the Power Four that has an incredible admissions wait list. Like it's
admissions for the college.
For the college.
Okay.
So they turn away, let's call it 15,000 kids a year.
Wow.
So they print money.
Yeah.
That school that president is gonna pay the $20.5 million in rev share. And not the athletic department won't absorb it, NIL won't absorb it. So they're gonna have $20.5 million plus an already extremely large athletic budget, plus a very healthy NIL budget. Okay? You have another Power Four up in the Northeast, and this is many of them in the Northeast, that are borrowing $15 million a year to get to the 20.5 because they opted in. Okay? Because you have to. If you don't opt in and you're one of these power conferences, you're an idiot, right? So they're going to opt in borrowing $15 million a year. So let's play this out 3 years. They've borrowed $45 million over 3 years, and they're 6-6 again. I think that's going to play out. Okay, now you take it to our level.
What's their plan on paying it back, though?
I don't know. They're just trying to keep up with the Joneses. It's no different than half of our country that's going to buy a buying a brand new car, but they're renting an apartment and they're not making enough to cover the lease of their car.
But 20 million is going to be 26 in 4 years.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's just an escalator.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to do it. And the ADs have admitted, privately to a person I have on the inside that they don't think this is going to last. But they have to do it. They have to say yes. But in a couple of years, they're going to say no.
So the $20 million of rev shares is in essence the college version of the salary cap.
For Power Fours.
For Power Fours.
Yeah, so now you go to our level. Here's the issue at our level. You have a school in our conference that is going to have 10 to 12x more than us in rev share.
That's nuts.
You're going to have multiple that have 6 to 7x more. You're going to have some group of, and I think Mark has done a great job of trying to get us some. Right? And our conference has done a great job. Pernetti's done a great job of being an innovator and saying there has to be a minimum investment over 3 years.
It does.
Which is genius. Genius that he did that, okay? But now let's go west. Let's push this thing west and a little south in the group of fives. Mm-hmm. There's no minimum that these schools are having to put in. There's no donor base that can fund it, and they don't generate a lot of revenue. Yeah. So, but they still have to play the same people. I mean, our group of fives still have to play the same people.
Right.
So let's take UAB out of it. It's probably not best for me to even talk about UAB. Let's take a school that has no revenue. They do not generate revenue in the athletic department.
Right.
They're going to have to cut existing budgets and call that revenue and then share it with the players. Then you're going to have a school over here in our conference, and there's a few in our conference, that have massive revenue. They're getting big checks from the conferences. They sell a lot of tickets. They sell merchandise. They've created revenue models in their program.
And they've got donors.
And we're not even talking donors yet. That's real revenue.
Yeah.
Okay, so that number, they're going to share this number. It's a big number. Let's call it $5 million. Keep it simple. This group is going to share $500,000 to $1 million. But they're playing each other for the same trophy. Now let's talk NIL. Remember, we haven't talked NIL. You still have donors that want to give to NIL.
When you say NIL, you're talking about the guy that owns...
Collectives. We're talking about the pay for play. Let's call it what it is. It's pay for play.
Right.
You still have this cash, this pot of money that they were using through collectives to pay players. It's still there. Some can turn it into revenue by having it gifted a certain direction. Then the athletic department call it revenue. So that pot grows. Remember, they don't have any.
Right.
So maybe they had $100,000 in revenue. So their 500 in rev shares became 600, or their $1 million rev share became 1.1. Their $5 million already had $3 million of NIL. So now it became $8 million. So you have $8 million versus $1 million that you're sharing with players. And here's where the rubber hits the road. And this happened to me this offseason. Schools come in and they see, because we all know who we're recruiting.
Yeah.
Right? It's all digital. We all know their trips. We're talking to agents. Everybody knows where they're going.
Talking to agents.
Oh, it's nonstop.
Yeah.
We all know where they're going. So if school, let's use Mountain West School over here. Mountain West School brings in Johnny, and Johnny's a premier player for him. Mountain West School they can pay Johnny, let's call it, including their stipend, 50 grand. This school, let's call this American Conference, lots of money school, says, we play them next year in a non-conference game. Why don't we pay Johnny $150 to be a backup so that they don't get him as a premier player? So now you have schools at the same level paying 3-4x to steal a starter from one roster and make him a backup on another roster. Now, the kid doesn't know he's going to be a backup, but we know because we know who else they've recruited and how much they've paid the other players. Because the agents are telling them telling us what they're being paid.
Okay.
So we know what Johnny, the guy, because this team told Johnny he's going to be a starter, right? But we also know what this team paid the guy plays the same position as Johnny.
Same age.
That's a premier player that came from a Power 4 that has 18 career starts, is super productive, and has a draft grade. Because that's the other thing we know. We know if they have draft grades or not.
Wow.
We're talking to scouts. We're talking to GMs. We're talking to personnel people. Yes. So I know if a kid has a draft grade or not. You know, so you don't just go into the portal and be like, oh, he looks pretty good, let's trust our eye. No, you're vetting this player at every single level. And when you hear, the scouts rolled through whatever school, Bemidji State last year, and saw that Bemidji State left tackle has a priority free agent to 7th or 6th round grade, man, that kid's going to be a really good player in the American. Like, we know that stuff.
Yeah.
We know if our guys have draft grades or not. So we know how it all sorts out. So now and this happens, this is the one that this really will blow your mind. That the Power Fours have been hit by this too, because let's use the offensive line. It's the easiest one to talk about. The offensive line of the big Power Fours right now have done a great job recruiting those guys. And they usually have 14
When you say recruiting, you mean high school kids?
High school kids, 14, 16, really good players. Well, where do the lower group of Power Fours and the high group of fives find their next starters? On Power 4 rosters, number 2 backups. So the great Power 4s are being poached of all their good backups to become starters elsewhere, and those kids make a bunch of money. So where do they go to get their starters? I mean, their backups?
It's trickle-down effect.
Group of 5 starters go to Power 4 backups because of money, or this one will blow your mind, JCs or backup high, young, tradey backup group of 5s. So Mac School has super talented tackle that they got from another country that is super tradey, like 6'7" plus, 330 plus, can move.
Tradey. What do you mean tradey?
Tradey has traits.
Oh,
Sorry,
traits.
It's a football term we use. Tradey. He's got tons of traits.
I got you.
So he's like, and this Mac School has been developing him. They've poured their life into this kid, right? We want this kid as a starter. Like, we've done our work. Like, we really want this kid. We're going to pay this kid the most we can pay him. You know who's going to pay him? The SEC.
And then pay him a lot more.
Pay him 3, 4, 5 times what we can pay him to make him the 2nd or 3rd string tackle. And the kid loves it because he went to the Mac School out of high school, where they forget about you and play on Tuesday nights. And now he gets to go to the SEC or the Big Ten or the ACC. Are you kidding me? And they're going to give me all this money, life-changing money, by the way.
Life-changing money.
Life-changing money. This thing is, it is really, really a challenge for all of us to build a roster that you have any idea of what it's going to look like come the season. And then to mention this, one more thing, because I don't know if you're going to take me there. Let's use UAB now, because I'm sure there's going to be some UAB fans watch this. We've recruited, developed 15 kids in my tenure. They're now at the Power Fours.
Because they've been picked, poached.
And I'm happy for them. The ones we lost this year, I met with all of them. Not one left disgruntled. But one of them in particular, bawling his eyes out. He didn't want to leave. He was so happy. I said, son, you have to take this. This is $450,000 over the next 3 years. And he's a smart kid. He will save. He won't go buy chains and cars. Yeah. I'm like, you can change the trajectory of your family if you take this money. So you're rooting for your own kids
To go somewhere
to
else.
go somewhere else
Because you care.
because you care about them.
We're all 16 conversations very similar.
I'd say half were that, half were, hey, coach, exploring other opportunities. This is just too good of an opportunity to pass. Nothing wrong. Loved my time here, but this is a better opportunity. And you got to accept that one too. Now, the one thing they're not taking into account, and the one thing we keep trying to push back with is opportunity. How do you put a price on opportunity? You're a starter here.
Yeah.
You're a difference maker here. You're a proven producer here. You have a fan base here.
Playing too.
That's what I'm saying.
You're
you are playing.
You're actually playing on Saturdays.
You are
And
playing.
And if you have
Do you
aspirations
really
to go
know
to the
that?
NFL,
Yes.
just because you're at, I'm just going to use it, just because you're at Alabama, you're at Michigan, you're at Ohio State, doesn't mean, because if you don't have tape, those guys are not.
Well, and the
gonna
data
draft
proves
you.
it. I don't have it in front of me, but the data is something like, I don't want to mess this up, but it's alarming how few Group of 5 jump up to Power 5 kids work or Power 4 kids
How
work.
many they
How
work.
few. The percentage is very low.
Wow.
Playing time goes way down. Touches as receivers, snaps as linemen, tackles as defenders, just production. Your production, the data now after 3-4 years period of time shows when the Group of 5 kid goes to the Power 4, the percentages of successful production carryover is very low. Very, very, very low.
So I don't know if you know this because you're not from Alabama, but what you just explained, whereas Group of 4, Power 4, gives 150 to the Group of 5 kid that's getting 50, all that is the 60s when Bear Bryant was at Alabama. That's all it is. He is the reason the scholarship limit went into place.
Got it. So you can go give 97 scholarships. And
He
all
could
that.
give he'd have 150 guys on the team. But he would take this guy that was going to go to Kentucky.
Yeah, take
or
the best player from the other competing schools.
But he was getting these high school kids. Though. He'd signed 50 kids. That's why they put a limit on it.
Well,
That's the reason.
And again, I would do the same thing. I had a call this year from a coaching conference that I've been friends with for a long time, and he was asking me about a player, and he goes, is he gone? I said, yeah, he got offered X at a Power 4, and he goes, well, I know you're going to give me an honest answer here. Should I sign him and pay him the same thing just so I don't have to play against him and I get to use him against you? And I said, I'd do that to you. If I had the money, I'd do that to you. I would do the same thing. I don't think they're wrong for doing this. I'm not complaining.
Not against rules.
I'm just giving you the facts of the dynamic right now is it just, I don't want to say it's unfair. It's just messed up.
Yeah.
And I think some of the most miserable people I know, again, I won't use names, are the Power 4 coaches at some of these big programs. When I was a high school coach, and this is where I really got, now nobody tells me the truth anymore because I'm a peer, but when I was a high school coach, they would come recruit all my players. And they always wanted to have time with me in my office and put the feet up and complain and do whatever. So think of anybody that's hitting your head right now, sat in my office at Lipscomb with their feet up and told me these stories.
Sure.
Anybody. And they all would say, this is the most miserable we've ever been. This is not what we signed up for. I'll trade seats with you. I had one Power 4 coach as successful as look at me. I was making $150,000 as a high school coach at Lipscomb. He's making... You might figure out who it is. He's making more than $6 million a year.
Wow.
He said, I will trade with you right now. I said, that's funny. He goes, no, I will literally, if our presidents let us, I will swap seats with you. That's how miserable he was.
I remember I worked for Mark Trussman at NC State.
I love Truss.
Did you ever work with Mark?
I never worked with him, but I know.
Okay, so I worked for Mark. And he talked about the NFL and the hours. Because people don't understand this. NFL football players get there at 8. They leave at 4. Give or take an hour or two, whatever. And the number of hours the college of pro coaches had to work was astronomical because you had to prepare after the players left. So when I was coaching, we worked 75, 80 hours a week. But you'd hit May recruiting, and you'd go for 5 or 6 or 7 weeks, and you'd be off.
Yep.
But now
We don't get time off like that.
you don't get time off. And so the NFL guys have it better as far as time off is concerned.
And office hours. We're
And
working
office
the same
hours.
office hours.
Same office hours.
Yeah.
Same office hours. So all that being said, how do you fix it?
I don't think it's going backward. I don't think I don't think it's ever going to go back to the way it was. I was with an older gentleman the other day, and he's been in the state forever. Football Connect. We're going to get it back to the old way. I'm like, no, you're not. It's never going back to the old way. My personal opinion, and don't soundbite. I've said this publicly here. I think what's coming is a super conference. That's going to be semi-pro football. I think it's going to be faster than people think. Really smart people will give you all the reasons why it can't happen fast. I will trump all those reasons with the market will dictate that it has to go fast. You're going to have a super conference. That's going to be semi-pro football.
How many teams? Because I've played this out
I've tried to do it in my head. I keep falling around 45.
I said 50.
Yeah, I think it's 45 to 55. I think you're going to see some people that think they're premier brands not get into this. There's going to be some schools that are in the Power Four right now that consider themselves premier brands that aren't going to be in it, and some of them aren't going to want to be in it.
Oh, there's a lot that won't want to be in it.
Yes.
Okay.
Then you're going to have what we're at right now, but without the ginormous huge gap.
Yep, I agree.
Right? So then you're going to have that. And I think everybody else becomes what you now know as kind of Division II, NIAA, not even FCS. Like, maybe FCS. But
a handful of FCSs.
No, I think everybody else is. I don't think you're going to have an FCS. Like, I don't think if you get in the second group, if you're not in the second group, and that's going to take some buy-in, that's going to take some sacrifice from presidents. Yes. This third group is like, we're cool, we're a college school, and we have sports.
So you think, I'm going to use these two because I know them well. So let's just use the general names. We've got the Alabamas and the Auburns of the world, the Texases, the Ohio States. They're in the super conference.
Yes.
Okay. You've got the, I want to be careful here.
Memphis, Boise.
Southern Miss.
Yep. I would put Memphis. I'd be careful there.
Memphis is hard because they got two sports that are considered really good. But but you're going to kick out,
Wisconsin to put Memphis in.
You're going to kick it.
Exactly.
I totally agree.
So remember, now if that goes to 70, 75, 80.
They get in.
Absolutely.
So you got the power conference of 50.
Yeah.
And then after that, you've got
the top of the American, the top in the Mountain West, maybe a couple Sun Belts. You have that group.
Is that a bowl series or is that a playoff series?
I don't know.
I think it goes back to a playoff series.
Yeah,
I think it goes like what FCS is. Okay. And I say this respectfully, where do Samford, Tennessee Tech,
they're going to be where they're at right now, but there's going to be a bunch of drop downs, a bunch of group of fives. I always mess that up. Group of fives that don't buy in.
And they go down to FCS.
And they're going to go down to and what you now call is the FCS, whatever that's called and whatever the rules are. Look at European soccer regulation.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask next.
Yeah.
How do you think we could ever get to where the relegating, like I'm just going to use these guys as an example, you ever get to like Vanderbilt? Could Vanderbilt ever get relegated to Conference USA?
Okay, I want to qualify this too by saying this. I'm a 7-win college coach in 2 years. I really don't know squat. The one thing I do know and do have that most don't have is a massively influential network.
Sure.
Friends that I'm very close to that are the decision makers at some of the biggest levels everywhere. I'm telling you what they're telling me.
Sure.
None of this is my creative thinking.
Yeah, no. I mean, I agree with you.
I'm trying to get through tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm trying to win today, right? I literally, and I mean that. Like, I'm as broken, as humble as you can be as a college football coach. I am literally trying to find a way for our program to win today, stack as many of those up that we have a chance to win next year. However, because of my old life, the life we talked about on the front end of this, I have access to a lot of information that most people don't have access to.
I agree.
Those people are telling me this. So I want to make sure I qualify this.
I agree with you.
This isn't even Trent's opinion. This is what he's hearing from people that are in the end. Like and nobody would trace this back. I had a venture capital guy last year call me. I hadn't talked to him in a few years. He goes, "What would it cost me to buy Georgia?" That's how I opened the phone call. I'm like, "What?" He goes, how much would it cost me in college? You're in college football. What's the valuation? You understand this to a certain degree. I said, $1 billion? He goes, that's what I thought. I thought more maybe 800 million. I'm going to see if I can buy him.
When he says buy Georgia.
He wants to buy the football team. So I know that's not realistic, but that's how they're thinking.
That's what people are thinking.
That's what people are thinking. And that's what I want people to understand is it's not what's going to happen. Like, smarter people than me can sit around and talk about all the whys and whys not. But when difference makers in our country are having those conversations in their offices, and when they have access to $2, $3, $4, $5 billion, something's changing. They want to see it change.
Yeah.
Look at NFL franchises, how much they've appreciated. Look at
Oh.
WNBA franchises that make no money that have $20 million valuations.
Yeah.
Look at my daughter's playing professional volleyball. It's one of the great investments in America right now is investing in professional women's volleyball. It's never been stateside. You know, you look at these soccer franchises,
Yep.
look at their valuations. They're live sports. When I was at ESPN, they started cutting studio shows. They're cutting costs. That's where ESPN Plus is coming. They're cutting personnel. NBC Golf, Gary Koch, Roger Maltby, two legends, no longer there. Why? Trimming costs of production, taking cameras away from production. Because everything is being packaged to prime itself to overspend in live football.
Wow.
Football.
Yeah.
The NFL is his own thing. College football, there are people that want to see a part of college football become equal to the NFL. And can we monetize these institutional football programs? I'm not saying, listen, I don't know how this happens. I just know the people that have billions of dollars who are way smarter than me are having these conversations daily. That typically tells me it's going to trend that way.
At some point.
At some point.
Who do you respect most in college football right now as a coach?
I think for years, Dabo.
Okay.
But right now, Spencer Danielson at Boise State.
Why?
His conviction,
Yeah.
going back to this term that's being overused, but it's true. He's a transformational human to his players.
Wow.
He's making a winning team and players are going to have an impact for the kingdom and in life for a long time. And he's doing it with less. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
that, and Dabo did early on. I mean, he built that thing.
He did.
He built that thing. I sent him a text a couple nights ago. I just said, hey, as an old fart that's been following the Lord for a long time, I just really respect your boldness and conviction and your tactfulness and how you're leading those players to know the truth and to stand for something more than just football. And I'm a competitor. You're kicking people's butts in the process.
No doubt.
You know, so I was a huge Saban fan for years. I got to know Nick through the Elite 11. I wouldn't call us buddies or anything, but you know, I just always respected. We would send kids there, and they'd come back better. Wow. You know what I mean? Like kids would go to Alabama, no matter how talented they were, and they'd come back better. Like he was the master at developing. There's a lot of really good coaches. In fact, Mort and I were talking this morning. It was funny. It's funny you asked this. Mort and I were at my desk this morning talking about some stuff, and I've been just really working my tail off this offseason trying to get us to win. And one thing I've been doing is watching other teams and other programs. I said, Mort, I know you've heard me say this the first few years. I've been really impressed with the quality of coaching, but this year I've even taken a deeper dive into it. There's some really good football coaches in college football. Yeah. I just don't know how long they're going to do it because I don't know how long they get to do it. You know, like they're not getting to coach as much as what they signed up for.
Sure.
So how many of these brilliant young coaches, Alex Mortensen, are going to keep doing this as the job evolves into something they didn't sign up for?
Could you do this job right now if your three girls were in 3rd through 10th grade?
Nope. Unequivocally, no. In fact, I just counseled a ex-NFLer who got offered a job who has 4 kids in their junior high teenage years. And I said, I couldn't have. I didn't tell him what to do. I said, but I couldn't have. And it's one of the great, I've made a lot of bad decisions in my life. One of the greatest decisions I've ever made was to say no to a glamorous coaching lifestyle when the girls were still in school. And, you know, one of the reasons I was able to do UAB was because I had no intention of leaving Nashville. We were happy.
Yeah.
It was, okay, this is a weird inflection point in my life where at the time I had just become a grandfather to my first. But like, I didn't have anything holding me there.
Sure.
Like, my wife is open to me. Like, as long as she gets me, she doesn't want to be around me all the time. I don't blame her.
Yeah. I mean,
She wants me working. She
Yeah.
wants me grinding. So, and she wants to be a part of it. So like, I have this time.
Sure.
I'm not torn. I'm not trying to serve two masters. I think it really comes down. That's what I told this young coach was, I'm like, listen, becomes a master. You can't let it become an idol, but it's definitely a master. It's a master of your time. It's a master of your mind. Like I literally have not slept in 6 weeks. Like it's probably longer than that because my mind never stops.
Never stops. I know.
It's the next thing. I'm lining up the next, solutions for the next day, trying to get ahead of the next crisis, trying to plan the next thing. And because I remember I'd do the same thing as a parent, and as they were going through, especially those formative years of for a girl, those junior high years, early high school, those are really hard years.
Huge.
So I was kind of walking with them through that, but that would keep me up at night too. Yeah. Well, I'd be serving two different masters there, and I wouldn't do either very well.
Right.
And I've seen very few, again, not going to use it, but I've seen very few. I can count on one hand the fathers of daughters that have been great fathers and also great football coaches. I can count on one hand.
I bet.
Now, sons, a little different because they can bring their boys into the culture. Come along.
The guy at Louisville basketball is doing a good job of that.
Come hang out with Pops.
Yeah.
Right? Come hang out with Pops. You can be part of it. You're going to hear some things. No big deal. I'm going to coach you through them. I'm going to walk with you through them. But you can't bring teenage daughters into a locker room.
Nope.
It's inappropriate at every level. I couldn't have them come to the office with me. I couldn't do those things. Sure. So I'd be absentee. And I really believe, I'm so excited. I'm going down to speak at something training camp with John Gordon in May, and I know we're going to get into parenting. I know he's not having me down there with Dabo and all these guys, Kevin O'Connell, all these guys talk about coaching. So I know why he's bringing me. I'm coming to do the parenting talk.
Yeah.
Right? And we're going to write a book together, and I know one of the things that he wants me to talk about, and I'll share a little bit of it here, is that, I was called to be a full-time partner with my wife raising our daughters.
Yeah.
And I took that very serious. Serious as I've taken coaching, as serious as I've taken my career, all my careers. And now I get to see the fruit of that. Now, I made a ton of mistakes, and by God's grace, those are amazing girls, but there was this availability, both in time, but also with mind and soul. Yeah. Like I was there for them, not just my presence, but I was there for them. Yes. I walked with them through their journeys, and they still talk about that. And, again, I don't want to, but I'm going to write this book called Coach's Hat. And I had to also balance when they, as competitors, great college athletes, needed me to be coach too. And now I've just reversed it. I'm coach first, but I can put on the dad hat. And it's been really a gift to be able to do those two things. I can't remember why we started talking about this, but that is, like, to me, I can sum the whole thing up as, and I'm going to take us somewhere. I can keep doing this while others are going to fade away, whether UAB will have me or not. I will continue to do this, I believe, because I really am as impassionate about this part of it, is being able to walk with these young people through a really crucial part of their lives and hopefully help them chase their best on the field too. Like, I've been called Kumbaya coach. Come to a practice, and I think you may change your perspective on that. Like, I am all about them being successful. Yeah. It is killing me, eating me from inside, not winning. But I can make the main thing the main thing. Yeah. And I want to make sure that these young people see a marriage, friendships, relationships, professional habits, grace, forgiveness, these things that they're not taught, modeled in the most
So they can see it.
competitive arena of their life and still win. I
Right.
still think there's a both and I go back to Dabo. I think Dabo started the both and. I know there's other great ones that have done it. I go back to Tom Landry, Tony Dungy. You can go on. Your list is probably long too, but I saw Dabo do it. I think Spencer's doing the same thing. I think there's this generation of coach that's like, you know what, we can do both.
Yeah.
We can do both where we can really help these people form the shapes of their lives and impact society for good and have lasting relationships and handle conflict well and be good with their finances and be good husbands and be good fathers and win a boatload of games. But if I'm wrong, I'd rather err on the side of impacting humanity for better.
How much time do you need, arbitrary number, how much time do you need in a week to teach all of this to these kids? It's a 20-hour rule.
Yeah, I think everything, it has to be immersive. So
Yeah.
the answer to that is immersing them in life skills through the vehicle of football. So it's the messaging of when you drop a pass, there's a life lesson in there. When you miss a block, there's a life lesson in there. When you don't do well on a quiz on a Monday morning after the weekend, there's a life lesson in there. When you're struggling with your endurance, there's a life lesson in there.
Yeah.
When you miss an academic assignment, there's a life lesson. You know,
How do you weave
when
it
you
all in?
when you treat
Yeah.
a teammate the wrong way, like it,
Yeah.
to me, it's all together. People call it culture building, and it's probably a good way of framing it. What I try to do is we are going to teach football and life together.
Sure.
Right?
Man, yeah.
We're going to be in our Ferraris going this fast down these lanes, but those lanes are going to merge.
Right.
We're going to go really fast and really hard at teaching life and football together.
So what strategies are you using to enhance the support of UAB in this like daily changing landscape? Like what are you trying to consider, what are you considering doing to develop UAB?
So I think one thing that's really interesting, I think I'm going to answer your question here. We live in a city or a metropolitan area
Yep.
where the majority went to Roll Tide or War Eagle.
Sure.
And I think that's awesome, by the way. I have friends on both sides. I love getting them to go against each other. I actually love both head coaches, so it's fun for me. They're
Right.
both very good friends.
Right.
So I love it. I root for both, actually. But we also are the school that impacts the state of Alabama economically the most.
Most. No question.
So it's this weird dynamic of your donor base does not necessarily live in Birmingham metropolitan. Now we have some incredible donors, some incredibly loyal people that are passionate about UAB athletics. They're awesome people. But we don't have the umbrella effect. You don't have the network effect of that. So I don't think we can thrive in a strictly donor-based model, nor do I think it's fair to the donors that invested so much to bring football back and build this beautiful stadium and build our beautiful facility. And people forget the facility was, I want to say it was $19 million part of that investment. It's state of the art. Our facility is as good as anybody's at our level. And a lot of those donors weren't UAB people. Those were Birmingham people.
That's right.
So I don't think we can sustain a donor-based model. I think we have to create revenue platforms and think outside the box there.
Yeah.
I think we have to partner with technologies and industries that, with our network, we bring you business, we help you save money, boom. Out of that savings, you help UAB. So I'm working really hard tactically. I would say I spend half my time doing this. I spend half my time creatively thinking around how to innovate us to keep us competitive with the ones that a donor's writing a $5 million check. Or they have a couple billionaires on the board, and whenever there's a need, like I know a couple head coaches in our conference, and they've been honest. Hey, I got a couple billionaires. When I really need money, I make a text, and boom, I try not to abuse it, but anytime I need it, I get it. So that's what you're competing against. So I think we have to be creative and innovative in how we create those revenue platforms. I think we got to learn how create really solid value propositions on our players. And I hate saying that because they're not pieces of meat. They're college athletes, but they all do not have a value.
Sure.
And I think that value is partly how they perform, but I think it's how they produce in our society too. So we call it the 2 Ps. You have your performance P, but you have your production P in our communities. That's why we're so big on service.
Right.
What kind of relationships are you producing? What kind of cultural habits are you producing? Are you producing better players that are underneath you? Like, are you adding value? If we're about to write you a check from our Oakland A's Moneyball pot, right? And that we got to make a dime turn into $1 there.
Right.
But if we're going to give you 2 dimes, you better show value in a lot of different areas. Academically, you better go to class.
Got to.
Our team GPA better go up. Right, I will brag on our kids. This year, last time, I want to say, and Joey's here, probably yelled from the corner, an astronomical amount of missed tutoring and mentoring and missed classes. We've had like a handful this year.
Man.
Right, so our kids are doing the things it takes to add value to themselves. I'm very honest with them too. I'm like, you have 2 value things going on here. You have the value of your personal value as it relates to this program, as we get into this rev share conversation, because that's going to be a real conversation that's going to take place. But you also have a value to us in helping us win and lose games.
Yeah.
You know, and these kind of things work hand in hand. You can increase your value over here if you're a really good student, you serve in the community, you're a great teammate. You may not be a great player, but you create value that way.
Absolutely.
We're going to be a better team because you create value for yourself, and I'm going to reward that. You might be a walk-on that gets a little extra money with Rev Share. You might be a scholarship guy that gets an extra $1,000 a month because of Rev Share. Now, over here, we still expect you to add value to the team, but you're also just a dude.
Yeah.
Like, you make plays.
Yeah. You got to make plays.
Right? You make plays and you produce on the football field. That's also helping your value. But you can hurt your value there too if you're being a knucklehead and you're tearing away from the team dynamic.
So you walked into a situation here that changed really quickly with NIL and all the money and all those things. What's been the biggest learning experience going from high school to college?
I don't know if I didn't know if I learned this because I saw this in the NFL. But in high school, you could find a weakness of a program and completely exploit it. Like, you could never lose a game in high school if you could exploit the weakness. It could be a program weakness, it could be a character weakness, it could be a playing weakness, it could be a scheme weakness. But my staff got pretty good at saying, okay, they're more talented than us, but here's some areas that they're weak and we're strong. We can exploit that. Basically, you can allow them to lose more than you win.
Wow.
Okay, you can let them implode, capitalize on it.
That's interesting.
Okay, college, better coaching, less weaknesses, better athletes, but less things to exploit. And so many other things going on in your week. Do you even notice it? I think the greatest challenge is maintaining the weekly focus of the end result on Saturday.
Wow.
And you're probably going to ask me what some of the biggest mistakes I've made. It's a laundry list. One of the biggest is trying to boil the ocean in the season. I think you can boil the ocean in the off season. We're going to try to do every single thing possible to develop and win on and off the field in the off season.
Okay.
In season, what we're going to do differently this year is a lot of that stuff's going to go away.
Give me an example. I love what you said, boil the ocean. What I understand, because the off season is long. You got 15, 16, 20 weeks in the season. What are you going to
in season, treat people well, go to class, do what you're told to do. In some spare time, do something for your community, and every other hour and part of your emotional being is winning a football game. We don't have room for anything else.
You don't have room for anything else.
No room for anything else. We've tried to do too much in season. I've tried to do too much in season. We can do it all in the off season. That once training camp starts, right? Let's treat people great, because I do think the human part of it's still the most important. We're going to go to class. We're student athletes.
Yeah.
We are at times going to be involved in our community, but we're focused on winning a football game.
So, okay. so Tressman.
Yes.
Okay. So Tressman was in 20 years in the NFL. He comes to NC State. We're at NC State. So he walks into my office. We're 3 games in the first year. And me and him were the outsiders. The guy left, Noel left. Me and him were there. And he goes, "Hey, Thomas, get Marcus Stone." He was a quarterback. "Get him up here and watch the third down reel." I said, "Yes, sir." So I go, "Look. Hey, Coach, Marcus is in class." Class?
Oh, yeah.
How are we supposed to win football games? These guys are in class.
Yeah, no.
So he had the hardest time
Yeah.
at going. He broke it down. He goes, "So let me get this straight. We get 20 hours with these guys. 3 hours count for the game. 17 hours. We got weights. We got this."
Yeah, the
he
math
said, "How are
doesn't
we
add
supposed
up.
to win? How are we supposed to win football games?" Now let me say this: he was a West Coast. He was taught by Walsh and Seifert. He is a West Coast disciple, and I love him. And I learned more football.
17 wordplay calls.
That's right,
Yeah.
at least. And so he had a hard time wrapping his mind. I remember we're in a game. Okay, I'm in the box. "Hey, Thomas, what do you think?" And I gave him something that I thought would work. He immediately goes, "We ran that play 4 games ago. We can't run that."
Fardo, we write 2 eggshell across or something?
Seriously. And so like his thought of like, he said one time, he said, "We ran that play twice this week. How does he have a busted assignment?"
I know.
And I remember thinking to myself, we would run something 10, 12 times between Sunday and Thursday.
Yeah.
And if he ran it, saw it on film and ran it once, he thought you should have it.
Oh, yeah, because that's how it is in the NFL.
That's how it is in the NFL.
Yeah, and if you only got it to the right, that's enough to be right and left. It's
Yeah.
up both ways.
We did that. Jerry did that. Why do you not have it,
Yeah,
Johnny?
we're in college. We got to run it twice from the right hash, twice from the left hash, once left middle, once right middle, just in case the hash. Oh, I hear you.
That's one of the things that Mark always said. He said that the hash marks totally screwed his game up from the West Coast offense because in the NFL,
It's a big deal.
you're always in the middle of the field.
It's a big deal. I will say this on the class thing, and I'll, again, contextually, my daughters all were straight A students. I care about athletics. I was a good student. I absolutely believe they're student athletes. So now that I've qualified everything, we're coming into an era where they're not paid to go to school.
There is.
Like, it's not making a mistake about it, people. Like, I want them to, and we make them. But I'm fine with the coach that says, "Wait a second. I went out and spent a whole offseason fundraising $20 million to be able to pay these kids. I got to make sure they play good." Now, we got to find a way to do both. I'm a both-and guy. And the way you do both is you lean on the professional habits that I learned as an NFL player, is if your office hours, your 20 hours a week are all you're going to give, guess what your value proposition just did? It just dropped. Yeah. One of the things we're looking for are players that in every spare moment of their life, like, I don't have a lot of time for girlfriends.
No.
I have 0 time for the game. If we're going to win, you're going to have to sacrifice some things. You're going to have to sacrifice your college-free life. Now that you're getting paid. Now, if you're just here for the sweatsuit and the team meal, cool. You can go drink beer and play the game and do all that stuff. But if you are being paid to play, right, and to play well, you better be doing stuff in your off time because we only get you for 20 hours. Yeah. And we're only going to coach you for 20 hours. We're going to adhere to those rules.
You got to.
Right? But you better learn how to go in and pull up Exos Catapult and sort cut-ups and know what you're looking for on the third medium reel, and then go to the goal line reel and know what a 5-3 versus 6-2 is, and realize their safety disbursement and how they're creating the loaded box.
Yeah. The tech allows that, though, Trent.
Yes.
The tech allows them to sit at home and look for 45 minutes. If you had a left tackle that watched 45 minutes extra a night,
be game changer.
He'd be a game changer.
And we're getting that. And the one thing you do in the offseason is you teach them those habits. So now you use this time in the offseason. Everybody asks me, what is this time of year? I'm saying it's learning how to learn. Well, what are you learning? You're learning how to learn. We are teaching you skills that will help you learn life, football, math, relationships, how to fix your car. We're teaching you figured outness. Yeah. Like, we're teaching you how to learn.
So word on the street was that Ohio State, I'm just using these guys as an example. Yeah. Ohio State had a $20 million bankroll to do whatever with players.
I heard it was way over that.
Okay. Let's use that number as an example. Now we're getting to the point where they're going to have their $20 million from the school. Does this mean they're also going to have the other $20 million?
Again, I have no idea. I'm
Yeah.
not in the NCAA meetings. I've heard rumors again from people that should be in the know that they are going to have a mechanism to control NIL spending. Like you can only pay a player on top for what his value actually is to the institution. Name and image likeness salary has to equal impact. Tim Tebow could still be paid a ton of money, right?
Right.
But the wide receiver you don't remember or the left guard you don't remember, he ain't selling no jerseys.
Sure.
You aren't going to the swamp to watch him. He will be limited on how much he can make, but there's always workarounds. So as soon as I heard that, I said, well, then what would stop me from paying, what would stop a Power 4 from paying their $4 million quarterback $8 million? You can justify any number there. And then him giving that $4 million to his players.
Ooh.
There ain't no stopping that.
None.
There's LLCs you can set up. I mean, there's a million workarounds, right?
Yeah.
So yes, they're going to find a way to take their donor money, their collective money, and add on top to this.
Of that.
Will there be mechanisms in place to make that more difficult? Yes.
Sure.
But did it stop anybody when we weren't allowed to pay players? No. It's never stopped. You know, it's those with the most resources will be the ones with the best chances of winning.
I'm sliding you a blank check.
Yep.
What are 2 things you would do?
Two.
Two things.
I only get 2?
You only get 2. Give me 3. I'll give you 3.
Okay.
You have a blank check. What are 3 things you would do to fix UAB football?
First thing I would do is retention of personnel, both staff and players.
Okay.
Not
Great.
recruitment. So not
Keep
not
the ones you
free-
got.
Keep the ones again, I told you, I think it's 18 or 20 staffers I've lost Power 4 or the NFL. Now, again, this is a losing program, a losing coach. 18 to 20 staffers have gone to the NFL or Power 4. And 15 players have gone to the Power 4.
Just keeping them.
So let's call it 35 that if I just could retain, we're exponentially better. So retention of staff and players, number 1. Number 2, I'd build a state-of-the-art cafeteria and feed them 4 meals a day. I'd feed them crazy. It's their love language, and you can guarantee, as you know, that their biceps would look like yours instead of mine. Right? Like we would want to put good things in their body, dictate what they're putting in their body, because we are counting on the fuel that comes out. So right now it's this jacked up model is we can't control what goes in, but our jobs are dependent on what comes out. It's a jacked up model, being a food guy, right? They're putting crap in and we're expecting high octane to come out. It doesn't make any sense. So I would have a state-of-the-art nutritional center. I'd bring in sports nutritionists, not even sports nutritionists, like sports scientists, nutritional scientists. We'd do, grass-fed beefs and wild caught fish and organic fruits and vegetables. We would do cooking classes, teach them how to cook. We'd teach them how to grocery shop. It's a big deal. People go, it's just nutrition. No, it's a massive deal. Massive deal.
Let me piggyback off of this, and here's what the studies that I've done. Okay, so all week long, here's the biggest gap, and this is why the big Power 5s are doing that. It's because they'll eat. In the years, they've ate Chick-fil-A, they've eaten Wendy's, they've eaten McDonald's. They go to practice, and they're fine.
Yeah, it's the end of the week.
But here's what happens. You feed them something totally different on Thursday night, Friday night, pregame meal. Even though the food is better, it messes with their system because it's different.
Yep.
And so what they said was, okay, we'll just feed them great all the time. And that's what you're saying. I can't tell you how important that is. And you know.
Well, it's killing me because we do feed them well. I wonder if that's one of the reasons. Like I got made fun of relentlessly this year, and I probably deserved it. I kept watching us practice at a high level, and I kept telling the media, because I'm an honest guy, we're practicing like a winning team, and then we go out and play like a bunch of fools on Saturday. And it's the first time in my life, like my football life, I've seen happen what happened to us last year. If you came and watched a Wednesday, football game, like, that's a good football team. You watched it on a Saturday, like, that's a really bad football team. And I'm trying to figure out what's happening between a Wednesday and Thursday and Saturday. I'm wondering if this is part of it.
It is, Trent, because we feed them. The body is the most amazing machine on the planet. And what happens is our bodies can adapt to anything. drug addicts can go out and play really well.
Yeah.
But when the system is
change,
changed,
so you clean them up. They smoke a bunch of weed up until Thursday, and then they stop smoking weed until game day. She's the NFL on Sunday. That's actually a bad thing. Better just smoke weed the whole week out.
because it's what they're used to.
It's what they're used to. Yeah.
Okay, I want to transition.
Third
Third
thing is that there would be a big philanthropic piece. There would be. I'm really big on the Serve the 99. I know I was getting into that comment earlier. Like you're talking about Birmingham being Roll Tide and War Eagle. There are 400,000 people in the 99 that the university impacts in a great way. It provides a ton of jobs. Provides the other companies down there provide jobs. Kind of the fuel.
Sure.
And I would love to serve Mayor Woodfin's 99 more.
Yeah.
I know he ran on that campaign. I really like the guy. I believe in him. And I think if the football team could give more in resources, not just time, I would definitely have a philanthropic piece of that blank check.
I love it. Let's talk staff. Steve Russ, new DC. Mm-hmm. What made you say, that's my guy?
Handful of things. I'll keep it simple because I've been way too wordy. Professionalism, organization, teacher, father, has raised athletes, humble, learn from previous mistakes, and triple option background. That was a huge part of this hiring process.
No, in triple option.
We have 3 of them this year because remember Rice went to triple option. So we have Army, Navy, and Rice, all triple option teams that we're going to have to, we obviously have had 0 success against triple option teams. We have to do a dramatic turnaround there.
That's great. Lyle Henley, one of my favorite people in your building. I love Lyle. Known him for years.
So glad I was able to do what I was able to do.
Let's talk about
I was able to elevate him to assistant head coach, which is very rare for the strength coach, even though he's way more than that to be the assistant head coach. And that's not a token title. There are a lot of times, especially with the climate of college football, that I'm not around, that I am not the primary voice in these kids' worlds. And I wanted to make sure that the primary voice when I'm gone is somebody that, is like-minded, that I have a simpatico relationship with.
He's amazing.
And he was just the right person. I have other great candidates, but he was the right one. I also wanted to reward him for his years of service here.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know how much people know, but I love Bill Clark.
Bill Clark's amazing.
I love Bill Clark. I'm embarrassed by what I've done as a leader here after he's left. We're going to fix it. But, Bill was so fortunate to be able to get Lyle. And then what Lyle meant to Bill as he built this thing.
Sure.
And, I figured I wanted to keep something and elevate something that had the Bill Clark DNA in it.
Yeah.
I think for us to get back to the UAB winning ways, we need some of Bill's DNA to come through.
I agree.
And Lyle is the catalyst. Because I know Bill as a friend, not as a coach.
Sure.
And I want to do a better job with this program. And I think Lyle can be a catalyst in that.
I totally agree. You've got some new guys, Gordon, Logan.
Yeah, we have all
Carson.
kinds of new guys.
Tell me how those guys. What made you hire those guys?
Yeah.
And how they're going to impact.
I think pedigree was important. Carson's dad is a coach for Alabama, offensive line coach, so he's got the right pedigree. Logan Tressel's grandfather is one of the great coaches in the history of college football and a great man. His dad is the defense coordinator at the Power 4 level. So, now you have the Tressel pedigree in your building. I think Gordon Steele, same thing, pedigree, but Gordon's been really successful as an offensive line coach. He's had really good rooms.
He's Kevin's
son, yes.
Wow, I did not know that.
And he's not just the son of a famous coach.
Sure.
He has been a very, very, very successful offensive line coach. And Matt McCants, after his first year having a room, we really felt like having a 2-headed monster in there. Matt's going to be one of the great coaches in college football. But we wanted to support him a little bit more. And we're moving more to a 3-headed offensive line room. We've seen other schools that are really good up front go to that format, so I wanted to move into that format as well.
It's such a huge part of the offense.
Yes.
I mean, people don't really understand
Well,
that.
if we got to stop these 4 beasts from disrupting everything,
We got to figure it
those
out.
5 to play well.
Okay, I'm a UAB guy. I was there, first win versus a ranked opponent, first conference team, all that. how do you balance honoring our traditions, but yet you got to go have future success? What does that look like? How do you do that?
Well, I think, to me, when I got the job, I wanted to make sure that I thought the Children's Harbor story was an incredible tradition. One of the great ones in college football. So I want to make sure I only amplified that. And I believe we've done a good job with that. The connection is stronger than it's ever been. Our kids are as involved, if not more, than they've ever been with the hospital. Obviously wearing the uniforms, having the kids out, really our kids engaging with them. It's not just the game, it's the week of the game. So killing that. I made a mistake with the gold helmet. It was not intentional. You know what I mean? It was not an intentional thing. Under Armour changed the gold. I'll get a little defensive on this one. I'm not a defensive person by nature. I usually eat the crap sandwich and not flinch. This one I'm a little defensive on because Under Armour changed their gold. And the helmet did not match up with the gold. And we only have so much money. If somebody wants to come buy me a new set of helmets, I'm all for it. You know what I mean? Please.
Let me be honest with you.
Yeah.
I never noticed. And I never noticed. Here's what you've done really, really well. You've not changed the logo.
Yes, it got changed this year.
But not like massively. You've kept the things that I feel like are important.
Yeah.
The gold helmet I never even noticed.
Yeah, but I do think it's important to some people, and I've heard their voice, and we're going to bring it back. I did the Inferno podcast this morning, which will come out later in the week, and I announced that we are actively working on bringing the gold helmet back. I like it, but you also, with limited resources,
you got dollars, man.
We're not Oregon. We're not some of these other schools that can have all these different combinations. So you got to make sure the pants work with both jersey, that the helmets work with this, that the cleats and the accessory pieces. And I feel like a dang fashion designer. Again, another thing I did not sign up for. But I do think it's a big deal. And I heard enough people, we say the green and gold, not the green and white.
Yeah. That's
right?
who we are.
So I stopped and said, okay, the green helmet's really cool. In fact, we got rave reviews about the green helmet. It's awesome, right? But we need both. Both and. And I've heard that, and that's one of the ways I want to bring back something that is important to a lot of people is I want us to be the green and gold. So we're adding a little more gold, the gold helmet, and a little more gold into the program. I think the Smile Mile tradition is a new tradition, but a really good one. It's an incredible organization. I hope people look more into it. And to honor them with the jersey, like the Children's Harbor jersey, I think is a big deal. We're going to change that one up a little bit to make it more UAB centric. But I think we're always trying, we hope that new traditions come, and we hope those are winning traditions. We also don't want to force them either. I do believe that this program was built on a blue collar, tough, gritty,
I can attest to that,
gnarly, glass eating mentality. And that's something that we've preached that. We've tried to do that. That's my DNA as well, but we have not shown that. I want to make sure that this program is forever known as a blue collar, gritty, tough, mentally and physically program, because I think all the coaches, not just Bill, but all of them built it that way. And it's the city.
Yeah, it's so blue collar.
It represents the city so well, it fits. Yeah. And especially fits the 99.
Sure. Our last question, because we got to go. When you leave UAB, whether it's 9 months or 19 years, what do you hope people say when the word Trent Dilfer comes out of their mouth?
That he gave more than he took. Anybody can say they work hard, work endless hours, grind. I want people to say, you know what? He gave so much to help, not just UAB, but the city. Yeah. I do love this city. I've said this multiple times. We've lived in some incredible places. My career took me great places. Retired in Austin, a great place, coached in Nashville, live in the Bay Area, Seattle, Baltimore, Tampa, and go on and on and on. This is my favorite place I've ever lived. Yeah. The people. It's beautiful. It's got great culture. It's got great history, all that's true. But the people I've fallen in love with. Yeah.
It's a great
place. I lived downtown for 2 years. I lived in a loft downtown. I love downtown people. I love over the mountain people. I just love the people. I want to see what gets me. what gets me the most excited is seeing people reach their best. I want to give whatever I have, my resources, my time, my expertise. I want to give to see people in Birmingham, especially UAB football players, reach their best. I hope they never think I'm a taker, but that I'm a giver.
That's great. Coach, I appreciate you coming.
Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
That's fun.